Hi, so today I'm going to be talking about the impression formation process and why I want to improve on it in ways that I can improve upon it. So first, let's define it. It is defined by Bergeron et al. As impression formation has to do with how we form impressions of other people and the specific verbal and nonverbal cues that inform those impressions. So it's done so through the 3 steps of social cognition, where we take information and process it. So the 3 steps in the process of social cognition are selection, organization, and interpretation. So the selection process begins with all of the stimuli that our senses receive. We obviously can't process and address each and every one of them. So we go through a process of selection where we take the most important or the most unusual one and kind of focus on that. And then we take that stimuli and organize it. And so we have selected what stimuli to pay attention to, and then we classify it in a way that helps to make sense of the information that we received based on how similar or dissimilar it is to information that we already have. Once we have selected a stimuli and organized it in a way that makes sense to us in relation to information that we already had, we will then interpret that stimuli. And this interpretation then goes on to form our impression. And while these impressions are formulated based on those 3 steps, it is important to recognize that they can be influenced by preconceived bias or stereotypes or misinformation that we have stored as information. So now that we've defined exactly how we formulate these impressions, I want to talk about why and how I would like to improve my impression formation process. So first of all, I would like to begin by addressing my visual biases. We receive a lot of information, but one of the stronger forms of information that we receive is what we receive optically. So whether that's someone's physical appearance or what they're wearing or where they're located, the gestures that they're doing, etc. The visual aspect can really have a strong influence on our impression formation. And so I know I've definitely been guilty of judging people and making assumptions based on either how they dress or their physical appearance just right off the bat. So that is definitely something that I would like to address. That way I have a more accurate and reflective impression of a person. So another aspect that I would like to address is the presence of stereotypes in my impression formation. So our impressions are formulated based on information that is sent to us in addition to information that we already possess, which means stereotypes can find their way into our impression formations just because we may perceive someone to be a certain way or possess a certain aspect just because of either like their skin color or their hair color and stuff like that. And so I do try to work hard to address any stereotypes that I hold, but I recognize that there are probably things that I am still ignorant about. So I definitely would like to be more cognizant about addressing those stereotypes when they pop into my mind. Okay, so now I'm going to have us all test our own bias and stereotyping. So if you could just go to the link below and then select any of the implicit bias tests. I chose the racial biased one. You can then take the test and it will show you where you have any inherent biases. And this was really interesting for me personally because there were things that came up for me that I did not realize I had bias on. So it's a really informative test. So lastly, I would love if you have any suggestions on ways that I can improve my impression formation process and make it more effective. So that was my presentation about impression formation, and thank you for listening.